Okay, we will get started. It's 7. Thank you all for being here. I think we'll still have some stragglers, unless everybody's still recovering from the party yesterday. But we certainly don't have the numbers we usually do tonight. If you'd please stand, we would like to open with a prayer. Father in heaven, once again, we're here trying to do what has to be done to return this country to where it should be, to where it was founded under your divine providence. Bless our work, bless our families, bless those who serve this country and who put themselves in harm's way, and their families. I know, as I said before, you keep testing us, but we will continue to do what we think is right, and with your help, we will eventually succeed. Amen. Please remain standing for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. A few thoughts before we get into the program tonight. Last night, many of you were at the party we had over at the Packer Club. For those of you who couldn't make it, we really had a good time. We had probably 75 people show up. We had leaders from about 10 different Tea Party organizations that I coordinate with showed up, which I thought was really, really nice of them. I think we had a good time. I think it was necessary for us to come together socially, to share our concerns, to support each other moving forward, and to just break bread, have a drink, and get to know each other in a social way, because many of us have worked so hard for so long and were so disappointed. We needed some time together, and I hope those of you who were there left feeling a little better than when you came in. That was the intent, so I hope we did that. A couple of housekeeping issues. There's a few things coming up. I'm not going to go into them in detail because there are so many. And I did send out an email to everyone today. If you haven't checked your email yet, our friends at Morris Patriots put a great update together on some of the things that are going on, things that we should be aware of. One of them is the Americans for Prosperity is having a bus trip down to DC on the 13th to raise our voices against the damage that a lamed up Congress can do, and to make some noise about the fiscal issues that are going on. There's also many issues going on here in the state which are threatening our sovereignty, our property rights, some of the sustainable New Jersey legislation, which sounds wonderful at face value. You need to take a look at it. At our last meeting, we had Rich Matriciano from Sussex Tea Party speak to us about Agenda 21. There's going to be more of that coming up. Believe me, this is a subterfuge attack on our sovereignty as Americans. You couple that with the treaties that are coming before the UN right now, again, all with wonderful names, you know, the welfare of the children, helping the disabled, the laws of the seas. They all sound wonderful, but every one of them will strip away our sovereignty as American citizens. And as I've said before, they can be signed by the President. If they get ratified by the Senate, they have the force of an amendment to the Constitution. So if the act, one of them that's going through right now on gun rights, it's ostensibly to stop countries from selling guns to terrorists and the like, but it allows for gun control, if it goes into effect, it supersedes the Second Amendment to the Constitution. Okay, so we have some real heavy-duty threats here. We can stop this by putting pressure on our senators. When I say our senators, I don't know that our New Jersey senators give a damn about what we say. But there are the Republican senators who, if they stand strong, can make sure this doesn't get ratified because it needs a 2/3 vote. But depending on them to stand strong is nowhere near a given. So these are things that we need to make some calls on. Again, I'm not going to go into more detail on that because I sent you the email, and believe me, there's so much information there you can get literally drown in it. But what the left and what the administration is trying to do is overload the system, and they're doing a good job of it. And it keeps us playing catch-up rather than on offensive. But that's where we have to be until we can turn it around. So please read through that and see what, you'll find something that interests you. Get involved in that. A couple of thoughts, and these are things I spoke about at the meeting at the party last night. Some things that have come to me regarding what happened with the election and moving forward. And for those of you who were there last night, forgive me for repeating it, but there are some here who were not there last night, and I think some of it deserves repeating. What I was saying is we have focused on politics, strict politics, getting out the vote in the last few months before the election. And I think if we continue to do that, we will continue to fail. Because we're facing a different society than the society we think we had in this country. We're facing entitlements, victimization, instant gratification, class envy, racial divide, all perpetuated by this administration. And I said the left plays into this every day. So we can't hope to turn around an electorate in the last 6 or 8 weeks of an election after they've been bombarded with a change in our culture and a change in our society. We have to commit to a 24/7, 365-day-a-year recapturing our culture, recapturing the society that we feel is the American society. If we don't do that, when we go knocking on those doors and making those phone calls, and those people have been brainwashed, we're not going to get them to come out. We're not. Our focus, our battle, in my humble opinion, has to change. And I think we have to get our ideas across in a better way. We can't use harsh, damning rhetoric on people. We need to promote our values. We need to live them and our ideals. We need to market them. We need to make them a product that everyone wants. We have to make our product, conservatism, on the top shelf more appealing than the nanny state, which is being sold now. So that's the tack that I think we have to take. And look, I don't know how we can do that. I don't have answers to that. But as I suggested last night with 10 group leaders there, I think it's something we each should start talking about. And we will be talking about it here in our upcoming meetings. We will be focusing on cultural issues, societal issues, in addition to the strict political issues. Because one without the other, my friends, is not going to make it. We're going to do the same efforts. We're going to come out just as disappointed in the end because these people are living a different life. And we have to be the ones to tell them what a better life is. And we have to present it in a positive attitude going forward. So really what we have to do is take back our institutions, our schools, even our churches. Tonight we'll be talking a lot about schools, the parental rights, the things that we forfeited, and how to get them back. So I hope tonight is, what's the right word? I hope it means something to you. I hope you take something from it, and I hope you want to get involved in it. And the one other thing I mentioned last night, and I'm going to say it again tonight, it's something that's really been bothering me. And I started with a quote from Edmund Burke, and it's, quote, "It is not what a lawyer tells me I may do, but what humanity, reason, and justice tell me I ought to do," end quote. Because we are getting bombarded with hearing about what our children can and cannot say in their schools, when they write a poem, when they give a valedictorian speech, when they pray on the football field. We're just being told, you can't do that. No, take that word out of your address. No mention of God. And we roll over and say, oh, it's a shame. When did we decide that it's okay for other people to tell us what we can and cannot say, what we can and cannot believe in public, what our children are allowed to say, right? When did we allow that to happen? Because when we allow that to happen, we allow the state to control how our children are being raised. We forfeit our rights as parents when we don't stand up and say, who the hell are you to tell me what my kid could say? So it's really been bothering me, and I'm trying to get across to you, it's time to stand up. It's time to play hardball. It's time to be as tough on them as they are on us. And when they say you can't do this or you can't do that, we need to say, no, Susie, put the poem in the way you wanted it, and I'll bring it to school and I'll put it there. And on the football field, pray if you want to pray. And if you're giving a valedictorian speech and they tell you no, say what you want to say. Let them come and arrest you from that podium and drag you to jail. Put that on the front page of the newspapers. Watch that happening all over the country. Do you think this country is just going to say they got what they deserved? Or do you think this country is going to rise up and say it's about damn time? I think I know what's going to happen. But it's not going to happen until we do it. And it has to be universal. We really have to do it on a large scale. Otherwise, there will be that one person being punished. But if we just civil disobedience, if that's what it is, then that's what it is. I don't think it is. I think it's an unjust law. I think we're allowing politically correct speech and regulation to strip away our rights as American citizens, and even more so as creatures who are made in the image and likeness of God. Nobody should get in the way of that. Will you be ridiculed if you do that? Yes. Will you be demonized? Absolutely. Will the politically correct hate you? Damn right. And in the words of Winston Churchill, I quote, "You have enemies? Good. That means that you've stood up for something sometime in your life," end quote. So my friends, we have the high moral ground, but we have to hold it. We have to take it, and we have to go on the offensive. And as I said yesterday, the people who are involved, the people who are active, like you people who come here and the other people who get involved, we're the militia, we're the fighting force. If we expect to inspire reinforcements to join us, we cannot speak of defeat. People will look to those of us who are actively involved for leadership and for hope. Do not disappoint them. Remember who we are by our very heritage. We don't curse the darkness, we light the candles. That's who we are. Now, I think that leads us right into tonight's topic, parental rights and school choice. Now, we speak very often about our Judeo-Christian heritage and how it's intrinsically woven into the fabric that is America. In tonight's presentation, we have both faiths joining together to reclaim our culture and to reclaim our children. Our two speakers are deeply committed to their respective faiths and to how only through a return to their basic traditions and the mores can we return America to its place as the beacon of liberty and the hope for the rest of the world. Our two speakers tonight, Victoria Jakowski. Victoria has done a lot of work in the past, a lot of good work. She's volunteered on the National Organization for Marriage, New Jersey Family Policy Council. She's worked on the Mike Huckabee presidential campaign, Steve Lonigan's gubernatorial campaign, and as campaign manager here in New Jersey for Rick Santorum's campaign. Victoria is currently involved with the Salt and Light Ministry. I think they're having a party tomorrow night, aren't they?
Yes.
Yes, I'm going to try to make that. She is the liaison for legislation, research, and family policy, and that focuses on conservative legislation, traditional marriage, pro-life, parental rights, and more. And Victoria is the coordinator of the New Jersey State Parental Rights Organization here in New Jersey, and that's what she's going to be speaking on tonight. When she's done, she will introduce my old friend Israel Teitelbaum, who has been working tirelessly for school choice, that voice in the wilderness, if you will, with the Alliance for Free Choice in Education. We will start. Please welcome Victoria and Professor Howard.
Thanks so much, everybody. I'm really thankful to be here, especially because I've been here 3 or 4 times now, I think 3, maybe 4, and every single time I've seen that you are a group of people that not only want to identify the problems, but you want to find the solutions and work on them, because there's many times you go to civic groups and they're just coming together and pointing fingers at what's wrong, and they don't really try to figure out how to fix it. So I'm hoping that some of you will join Israel and I in these efforts. And Israel has been amazing. He's been working on this topic, school choice, for more than a decade. And I've been working on freedom fighting for more than a decade, but specifically parental rights for probably 3 or 4 years now. So I'm just going to give you a brief summary as to what we're planning on doing. I would like to discuss a number of pieces of legislation, all of which are on the back table if you actually want to see the real bill or the pending law. And then I would like to discuss specifically what's going on tomorrow at the Senate. It's scheduled for a vote, the CRPD. Just kind of go over very much exactly what Nick just said. We're actually going to summarize everything that Nick just said in a complimentary way. And then Israel will come up and speak about school choice, and then I'm going to come back and give you an action plan and see if any of you guys would be willing to commit to be part of that action plan. Okay, so again, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for coming out. Basically, the meeting today is to make sure that you are all aware. I know that last time when the gentleman came and discussed Agenda 21, most of you were aware of it. The treaties that are happening right now with the CRPD, the disabled treaty, as well as the treaty regarding child rights. Every treaty that's going on, as Nick said, they strip our sovereignty away and they take away America's power. But the treaties that are regarding parental rights are more severe, because any individual, you know, if it has gun law or whatever the situation would be, that's a specific thing. But if it gets to whether it's school choice, whether it's parental rights, whether it's you making decisions regarding the education of your children, it's more severe, because if they start telling you that you cannot train up your child in the way that they should go, they cannot be taught that what is Christianity, or what is, you know, how to be taught up in a Jewish household. If they can't not be taught these things, or the government dictates what they're learning in a school, then we've lost the next generation. No matter how much we care and how much we try, if every other aspect of their life is bombarding them with things that are anti what we believe, it doesn't matter. You know, only by the grace of God will we keep a few, but we have lost our country. So I don't have children, but I have just worked in these fields for long enough. I went back to school as an adult, got a paralegal degree. My first job was with the state of New Jersey as a paralegal, and I worked for DIFUS, and I worked in 3 different counties, and I can tell you every week I saw parental rights being stripped away. And as Nick was saying, they even if they tried to speak up, they had no recourse. And I just couldn't take it anymore. So I volunteered to be the state coordinator for parental rights, and it's basically evolved, and now I am really, really, really involved with this. It seems that all of you understand that our constitutional rights are God-given rights. I believe that's what are in the Constitution are being stripped away. I do want to ask some questions. We're in New Jersey, so what are we under right now? What kind of laws? Are we under U.S. laws or are we under state laws? Correct. Okay, so what's the lowest law that we're under that in terms of all of us are under?
State law.
State law, very good. And then what would trump that or supersede that?
Federal.
Very good. And then what would trump that or supersede that?
International.
It's very good that you're coming up with answers because a lot of people don't have these answers. Typically, what could turn over a federal law? It would be the U.S. Constitution ruling. And what could supersede a U.S. Constitution ruling? A treaty, yes. And that was the reason why parental rights was founded, because there were a number of different treaties that were really specific to parental rights. And then this one that's being voted on tomorrow, that was actually introduced, I believe, and let me give you the right date, in 2006. However, in 2009, Barack Obama signed it, but a president can't sign a treaty into law. It has to be ratified or voted on by the Senate. So all of this is actually happening right now. So what I would like you all to do, obviously what we're doing is we're working off of this agenda right here, but what we're actually going to be discussing right now is this one, the top 20 things you need to know about the United Nations. So it has the 10 things, and Edna has volunteered to read the first 4. So everybody find this paper.
It is a treaty which creates binding rules of law. It is no mere statement of altruism. Its effect would be binding on American families, courts, and policymakers. Children of other nations would not be impacted or helped in any direct way by our ratification. The CRC would automatically override almost all American laws on children and families because of the U.S. Constitution's Supremacy Clause in Article 6.
Very good. Okay, so there's 2 different treaties that we're referring to. This one is the one that we have been working on for a number of years. It's the Convention of the Rights of the Child, and basically what it does is it strips away all of your rights regarding anything. You can no longer, if this should get passed, this specific one that we're referring to, you as parents in America could not make the decisions regarding education, you could not make decisions regarding medication, you could not make decisions regarding religious upbringing. It is so severe, and we have this paper for you guys to review when you go home. You could also log on to Parental Rights and start reading more. The entire treaty is there. Just press on the link and start reading it. It is beyond belief, okay? Now, just so that you all can understand and follow through, that if this should get passed, and believe me, they are trying to pass this. Within the next 4 years, it will be attempted to be passed over and over and over with Barack Obama, in charge, and currently right now with them having control over the Senate. So I would like Edna to read from the actual U.S. Constitution that we just read, that Article 6 referred to. She's going to actually read what the U.S. Constitution says.
This Constitution and the laws of the United States which shall be made in pursuant thereof, and all treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary notwithstanding.
Thank you, Edna. So I just want everybody to understand it's so severe. It's so severe that your brain really can't get over it, because we think that the only thing that trumps everything that we are the laws in our state, everything that we all the laws we comply with, they're covered by the U.S. Constitution. And all of us that are believers, whether we're Jewish or Christian, or we believe that God supersedes all of those, and all the rights in the Constitution literally came from God. But if these get passed, they're gone. And it's not even our senators or our president. It's actually the UN that makes these decisions. The UN, Okay, people that don't even have any of the faith that we do, they would be able to restrict everything you do. All family law, which is not even currently practiced, because in New Jersey we actually have some laws covering your rights that the Division of Youth and Family Services completely does not comply with. But this is really severe, and this is the goal. This is the goal of Barack Obama, his administration, and many, many, many of the senators. Okay, so I'm sure that all of you guys that are up on the news, many of you are going back people and things of that nature. There is something being voted on tomorrow. Who knows what's being voted on tomorrow? Yes?
It's about children with disabilities.
Correct. It's almost identical to this one, except it pertains only to children with disabilities. Reason being, they passed this one. A lot of the things that they're complying with literally go right with this one. So it's one of those things that they passed the one for disabilities. They're going to be 9 times more likely to then pass this year, this would literally take away your rights with all your children. This is just, again, the parents with disabled kids. Obviously, Nick just said that I was the campaign manager for Rick Santorum. I think everybody here knows that he has a 4-year-old daughter. If he were to comply with these laws, that daughter wouldn't even be allowed to be born because they were told that she could not live. And now she just had her 4th birthday. And he would not only would she not be alive, but if she did survive, it would be completely up to the UN. What happened, where she went, she probably couldn't live with them. It's just outrageous. So if you all would just take a moment to look at this other one, the 10 specific problems with the Convention of the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. It's known as the CRPD. Just glance at this for one moment.
I have a question. Is this all coming out of the UN? All this trees and everything is being pushed by the UN?
Yes.
I don't understand how this can supersede our own Constitution. I don't get it.
Exactly what Edna just read in Article 6. It actually says that treaties supersede the.
Why the heck would they?
Well, because they were thinking in terms of human rights and what's right for everybody. Now, that's the purpose for what we are doing as parental rights, because we have the goal to actually have a U.S. constitutional amendment that gives you the rights, that gives the parents the rights, and then the treaty would be under that. So that's the whole purpose, and that was kind of how I wanted to do this, because last time I gave this presentation, I talked about the treaties, and then I talked about the United States Parental Rights Constitutional Amendment. And the people were confused, and they were like, well, I don't understand. But that's exactly it. If the treaty gets passed, our rights are gone. But if we pass a constitutional amendment before that, the treaty cannot affect it.
Are we working on it?
Correct. That's why I'm here. Yes. Okay. Yes?
If the treaties supersede the Constitution, then how does an amendment prevent it from superseding?
Very good question. Okay, so if you guys will all go to this Lance handout, I'm calling it the Lance handout only because his name is down here. So it says the 2012 Proposed Parental Rights Amendment to the United States Constitution. They have been working on this for a long time. They actually had it drafted, and we had a number, more than 140 co-sponsors in 2009. And we couldn't get the rest at that time. It was amended to include language protecting life. So this is the new language. This is actually the resolution. I think all of you know, when you amend the Constitution, it's not a bill, it's a resolution. So this is the specific language that we are presenting. Now, if you look at this, if you read Section 4, who would volunteer to read Section 4? Anybody? Go ahead.
No treaty may be adopted, nor shall any source of international law be employed to supersede, modify, interpret, or apply to the rights guaranteed by this article.
Okay, so this language, that language in itself, if it becomes a United States constitutional amendment, would protect us from complying with the treaty that would take away the rights.
Wouldn't it be easier for us to get a petition to withdraw from the UN completely? No.
Well, obviously there's a lot, and I completely agree with you, but under today's circumstances, and I'm sure that there's those types of matters, I'm sure, are actually being drafted as well if they're not already active. But the whole point is that this is so paramount. It's absolutely so paramount that people understand this, because people really don't understand what's going on. And like most of you guys are freedom fighters. You guys understand. You've read the Constitution. You get it. You're here because you're involved. But yet you guys didn't understand that literally parents' rights will be stripped away as of tomorrow. They're voting on this tomorrow. So what has been happening is There's Rick Santoran's working on it, Parental Rights has been working on it, Glenn Beck is working on it, ADF has been working on it. It's basically like a lot of different organizations have jumped on the bandwagon because they're understanding how serious this is. But what's happening is, let's go back to this page right here. What's happening is the bill, the resolution, rather the treaty that they're going to be voting on, they tried to sneak it through. They absolutely tried to sneak the treaty through. Yes, go ahead.
When you say they, do you have specific names of people who are sponsoring this in the Senate?
It's on here, actually, the two, Durbin and someone else, tried to sneak into September.
Yeah, you know what, it's this one that you should be looking at, the 10 specific ones.
Blue right
Yeah, I'm sorry, it says 10 specific problems with the convention. So what had happened, just to give you again the brief summary of this, and we discussed it earlier briefly, but what happened was this specific treaty. On December 13, 2006, the UN adopted the Convention of the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. In other words, the UN adopted this language in 2006. On June 30th of 2009, Barack Obama signed it, but when a president signs it, it doesn't become law. He has to then send it to the Senate. So he sent it to the Senate. On May 17, 2012, President Barack Obama submitted the CRPD to the Senate for its advice and consent. On May 30th, and at the end of May, this is when Parental Rights put this together, this specifics, like they've researched it and actually identified the major problems with it. And then on July 12th, the Senate on Foreign Relations Committee had a single hearing on the CRPD. And then on July 26, 2012, the Senate Foreign Relations Committee voted, and it was 13-6 to send the CRPD to the Senate floor. Okay, so it was released to the United States Senate in July. And then what happened is they waited for a strategic time. And on Thursday night at 9:45 p.m., they looked at who was there. And they knew they had the 2/3 required. And they actually tried to, and that was a good question. Actually, your question was excellent. Senator Durbin and Harkin, they tried to literally get unanimous consent right then. And thank God one of our senators that are supporting us was there, and he said, and he did the math, like he could look around and knew what was going to happen, and he threw a fit and said no. So it was put on the back burner, and because he was there defending it, because we have, literally, we have people like you in every state working on this, calling their senators. He signed on as a co-sponsor, so he stood up for this, and it was put on the back burner. Until last week, they tried to present it. And what's happening is it's literally being put on the floor tomorrow at noon. Unless something happens, it's being put on the floor tomorrow at noon. Now, what's interesting is I wrote to Senator Lautenberg as well as Menendez in the summer. And I got really, really a complete, we're talking like 2 pages of this as to why they support this. But if I called today, they said, oh, we're not sure how he stands on it, which is really interesting because that's, yeah, but it's not true. Not even close to being true. In other words,
pressure from people.
Yeah.
They don't want to
What
admit.
is it they support?
That's a good question as well. See, I love these questions. What they really believe is that the government has a better insight as to what's best for your kids, and that parents really don't see the whole process. So therefore, the government needs to come in and tell you, especially with kids with disabilities, what should and should not be. They really believe it.
But it's not really the government. You're talking now. It's going to the UN.
Well, see, that's what's even. That's what's. I mean, it would be bad enough if our Democratic senators were, and Barack Obama, but now we're talking the UN, who absolutely our values are completely different than ours.
Why do they think it's so great to have the UN in charge?
Well, see, but that's it. Like, there is not one Democratic senator that I know of anyway right now that doesn't support the UN taking over. Again, losing our sovereignty and giving it to greater people that think, human rights and all of these things that, as Nick said, sound right, but they're really not when you start to read them. Stripping rights away. Yes, dear?
Well, when I was listening to Glenn Beck today, and he has a child with disabilities as well.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
A little boy. And, his daughter. He specifically said what he believes is the roundabout with this is really about abortion, because then anybody if a doctor checks the pregnant mother and finds anything wrong,
So it's population.
it'll be completely about a way, I guess, back to abortion, and you as a parent, you don't get to choose.
Yeah,
that
that's
I want to
one,
have this
that's
baby.
clearly one,
Okay.
because literally they have to register. As soon
Right.
as, if this treaty should pass, you have to register if your child
Immediately
is
with the
diagnosed
baby
any
form.
kind of disability whatsoever. But for the sake of time, what I want everybody here to do is to commit that you will not only call but email, because what I was told by parental rights staff today is that in terms of the phone calls, we're ahead, but in terms of the emails, it's 50-50. So all of the people supporting the UN to take over are emailing just as much as we are. So if you would go home tonight and email, the vote is scheduled for tomorrow at noon. So if you will call, and I gave you the numbers in red, you can't really miss them. Call both of the senators, and like I said, I don't really think it's going to make a difference, but this is the kind of thing that will make a difference when we go into the primaries and the generals and everything else later on. Because, this is a big topic, and no matter where I've spoken, no matter what I've done with this topic, I haven't had one person say the government should be able to make their decisions regarding their children. So this is a bipartisan piece of legislation, and when we get a little bit more into the discussion of what we're going to do in New Jersey, what will happen is we can get legislators out, and we have a plan, and it's a specific plan. So what are we doing here? To just briefly go over this, and I'm going to have Israel take over for a little bit. If you go back, I'm sorry.
I thought you said that they were sending more emails, and now you said we're supposed to call?
No, I want you to send an email out tonight, because they said it's 50-50 with the
Okay.
emails.
Okay.
And then obviously forward it to all your friends and ask them to forward it to all their friends and so on and so forth. Yes?
I just have a question. God forbid they pass this. Is there any way to undo it?
Well, it's binding. I mean, it's really binding. And if you read this, but I'm sure that there's, brilliant people, Michael Ferris, his legal team, Jay Sekulow, his legal team, like everybody's probably already trying to draft legislation, this type of thing, constitutional amendments that would supersede it. But it's, that would not be, I'm a paralegal, but I would not be the one that would discuss that right now. But I'm sure there's people working on it. I would bet millions of dollars just people already working on it. If, then what kind of thing. So if you just pick up this one again, the agenda, what we are doing is we're working on the Resolution 110, which is this United States Constitutional Amendment, okay? We have there's 86 co-sponsors. The only sponsor from New Jersey is Chris Smith. We met with Senator Lance and Israel and I and a few others met with Senator Lance in July, and no, I'm sorry, it was in August. And he agreed, but he said he's not quite sure he wants to go that next step because it's something that might not pass. But he said if the treaties ever become an issue, then he might reconsider. So I need you guys all to write one of these letters or call, and his phone number's right there, especially if you're in Congressman Lance's district, to ask him to sign on, because we need it. We absolutely need it. And now is the time where the people that I've spoken to, there's not one congressperson in New Jersey that I haven't spoken to, or like I should say their staff. But now is the time to actually get them to see this is a threat, and we really do need a constitutional amendment that would protect your rights.
Is there a timing on this one? I mean, is this...
The sooner the better, because obviously if the vote is tomorrow and he gets...
Right, I don't mean us, but I mean, is this coming up at any time soon?
No, we
Okay.
currently only have 86 co-sponsors.
Okay.
So what we're trying to do is get 200 co-sponsors and then bring it for a vote. Yes?
Victoria, how do we rescind the treaty?
To be honest, again, these are questions that are out of my league. If you want to give me a specific question, I can.
mean, it takes 2/3 of the Senate to approve it.
Right.
If you get 2/3 of the Senate to unapprove it, is that the end of it?
I wouldn't know the answer. I mean, I could guess, but I don't know. Do you know, Nick?
Victoria, I think it would need a constitutional amendment to override it, which is a big deal.
That would make sense to me.
That's the way, from my understanding, that will do it, but that's huge.
Yeah.
And with the country right now,
If it was, so you're saying if the treaty's
So
ratified,
maybe
in
Right.
order to change it, would take a constitutional amendment.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, but hold on, because I just want you.
How difficult is it to get? We get a constitutional amendment in our lifetime once.
Well, this is the point. It's going to take a decade. It's going to take a decade. Unless these treaties are so severe. And again, I know that everybody was distraught. Nick was one of the most.
So you get my point, though. Go to the empowering treaty. Go to the empowering part of the Constitution and get rid of that, as opposed to going into each one of these things.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, we could be chasing. I mean, you could be chasing these for the rest of your life.
Yes. But
And the chance of you getting a constitutional amendment.
I'm
on
telling you,
specific
this,
one.
this, you know, when I'm trying to develop this team, I'm saying no naysayers. I honest to God believe this can happen because everybody believes that parents have the right to make the decision and the government doesn't. This is one of these things that is so clear to Americans, whether they're blue or they're red. They absolutely don't want the government getting involved with taking away, you know, their children's rights. So I personally think this is, if we get people like you on our team, my goal is to have 4,000 people in New Jersey committed to fight for this and other constitutional things, and it's very easy to do. 5 from every district with 20 people that they individually have, and we'll discuss that later, but I don't want to take Israel's time regarding school choice. Parental rights is one of the things that we are fighting for, is parents having the right to make decisions regarding their children's education. The bill that Israel is working on is brilliant because not only does it give the parents the right to decide where their children would go to school, but it takes their tax-paying money and follows the child. But I'll let Israel take over for a little bit.
Before you just go.
No, I'm coming. I'm going to come back after Israel because I do want to finish the rest of this, but I don't want to take away his time. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Victoria. Your dedication and sacrifice, faith and persistence is really an inspiration and source of strength. Thank you, and thank you all for coming in. It's all a team. Ultimately, it better be a team, otherwise we're not going to get very far. I just want to give a little overview and give a little title to this little talk I want to give in three parts. Lights, camera, action. Action is the most important. Without action, we need action to change. That's the only way we're going to change anything. But we need the light to shed light on the issue, the problem. How do we take back our government? Where did we go wrong, as Nick was discussing earlier? And starting with the light, we start with the basic of how a country was founded. The founders recognized from thousands of years of history that power corrupts. And therefore, they felt it's crucial to leave the power with the people. And that's why we have the elections every 2 years for those who are going to represent us in Congress. And not only that, they went ahead and divided the federal government in 3 different parts sharing power, but with checks and balances, one over the other. Well, the ingenuity of man and the seeking of power is so enormous that over the years and over the generations, each one of these 3 have taken more power for themselves. The courts, as you well know, the Supreme Court is now creating laws. That's obvious. The Congress has gone way beyond the limitations of the Constitution with regard to passage of laws, and it didn't start with health care. It goes back. Then you have the third is executive. Well, executive is now appointing czars who create their own laws. They call it regulations, but besides that, the executive actually is able to pass laws without any Congress. It's called executive order. And it didn't start today with this president. It goes back many years. In fact, back in 1961, under John F. Kennedy, there was an executive order signed called Executive Order 10988. If you Google that, you'll find out that this is an executive order with the power of law that has basically changed the course of history and placed us in the situation we are today. If you look back and you say, okay, the power was given to the people. Now, do we actually, the majority of people, is that really who controls the power? Or is it the media? Is it the big corporations? The big banks? The banks that are too big to fail? Is it the president? Is it corruption? Is it the billions of dollars that's going for politics? Where did we go wrong? And when you look at this executive order and you examine what came of it, it created public employee unions. Public employee unions. I'm not talking about private company unions, because there's a balance of power. But public employee unions, if you just took two of them, the teachers union, if you look up their website, they have 4.7 million members together. By the way, the U.S. Army, not U.S. Army, the U.S. Armed Forces, all together, all the branches together, have an army of less than 1.5 million. So this army, this political army, if you want to call it that, is more than 3 times larger than all the United States armed services together. Those that I know here in New Jersey are paying about $1,000 a year, over $1,000 a year, membership. Now, if you still remember from school, 4.7 million times 1,000 is $4.7 billion. But that's not enough. So you got the army of political people, you got $4.7 billion, and on top of that, they also get to educate, indoctrinate the children to their way of thinking. Is there a wonder that we're in the situation that we are today? I don't think so. So how do we get back our government? The key is to get back our kids. Until we don't get back control of education, we're stuck with what we have, and it'll only get worse. Because as we say, power corrupts, it just gets worse. In New Jersey now, this year, the coming year, 2013, we're in a key position to do something. All 120, in all 40 districts, we're all up for election. Now, if we get a little bit organized, are either of the major powers going to give us back this power? No. No. So what do we do? To go third party, I hear a lot of people talking about third party, that's a recipe for failure. Why? Because for better or worse, we exist in a two-party system. The reason for that is that winner takes all. Parliamentary systems go by percentage. You get 10,000 votes, you get maybe one guy. So they have elections, then they have the different parties for the government, and then they can maneuver from there. But we have a two-party system, so there's only one winner that takes it all. Whoever gets the extra vote. So third party is not the solution. The solution is really that we have to win both parties, and not the part we have to. And that the only way to do that is through the voters themselves. We got to go to the voters and get the voters to understand whether they're Democrats, Republicans, third party people. Got to come and join us, because their guys they're just making statements. Statements is not going to get us back in government. So we have to go straight to the voters and get their voters to understand how crucial it is to get parental choice in education. And we're also a step ahead in New Jersey because we already have a bill. We are the first state in all 50 states. And this goes back to 1955 when the idea first came up from Milton Friedman for parental choice. So we actually have a bill. We have 5 senators co-sponsors, and we have 4 assembly co-sponsors. People here in this district have given lip service to the idea, so they're good customers to get them on the bill, but we got to get the voters first onto the bill. There's a resolution for School Choice Week last year that the 3 in this district signed on to, but they're not signed on to the bill. So that's a good place to start. We're getting to the action part of this now. And to talk about the actions that are potential here in this district and around. So as you see, In District 21, which is here, so you have Tom Kane, outspoken school choice advocate, signed on to this resolution, but not in support of the bill yet. So and then you also have Nancy Munoz. Who's the other one here? Anybody know? Gramnick. Also signed on to this resolution for School Choice Week. So it would be great to get a few people, get word around the district, these ideas, and then approach them and get them to support the bill. Now you have other neighbors around here, and I'm not sure where you come. If you're coming from those districts, it would be wonderful to actually get to work with this. East of here you have District 20. Elizabeth, Hillside, Roselle. Anybody ever hear Raymond Lesniak, a big Democrat?
Yeah.
He's been fighting for the Opportunity Scholarship Program. He's held parties with E3, excellent education for everyone, leading school choice advocate, but only for a little pilot program. If we get active in the 20th district, get those Democrats, which is all they have. By the way, with regard to government, even the party that we are all fighting for, getting back control of government with their help. Think about this. Both the Democrats and the Republicans sit down together and they work out a system of gerrymandering. What is gerrymandering? Everybody knows, but just to give you a real clear-cut example of what could happen, what really happens in gerrymandering. We could have two districts side by side. Each one has 50% Democrats and 50% Republicans. And this district has 50% Democrats, 50% Republicans. This one happens to narrowly elect 3 Republicans. This one happens to narrowly elect 3 Democrats. Now they're in office, they're very happy with their office and their power. So they get together, the two sides, and they say, you know, we have another election coming up, and it's really tough, you know, 50-50, it's a tough battle. How about we redistrict? And we make your district 75-25, or 70-30, let's say, 70-30. One way for Republicans, 70-30. It's the same people, but you just draw the lines differently.
Right.
And those lines are so zigzagged all over that this is happening all over New Jersey. If you check the stats, you'll find most districts are about 70-30. How do you ever get that way? Not with straight lines.
No.
So the only way to take back our power is not going to come from even our own party that we've been supporting for decades. So it's got to come from the people, and it's got to come from the people for both major parties. And the way we can do it is to take this message to the people. You want government of the people, by the people, for the people. Go for this bill. Elect people. So we want to help people that want to run on this bill. So what we're working now on a website to help the people identify themselves as constitutional candidates, that they want government of the people, by the people, and they're going to be voting for, they're going to be supporting this bill. So we're creating a website called Certified Constitutional Candidates, where they can certify themselves. You ever hear of certification of kosher food? That's where this idea actually came from. We had a meeting, somebody popped up and said, hey, why don't you give this certification? So, and we're not going to be certifying anyone. The candidates certify themselves, just like with Grover Norquist, with the pledge, no new taxes. So people, whoever they are, any candidate can certify themselves, and then this is their certification. They could use it, they could put it on their literature, they could put it on their lawn signs, and it doesn't mean that you're a Republican or Democrat. It means that you are for the Constitution. And if we could get this around, you know, with a good website and pass on the word, and they get involved, and we'll help them, you know, with advertising. We're working with a few PACs to push this idea across, and by word of mouth, I think that we can, with God's help, prevail. Thank you very much.
So that is one of the pieces of legislation that parental rights is supporting. What we're really trying to do is now get every state involved at a local level. The first initial effort was to pass constitutional amendments in every state, but we found that there was too much money on the other side fighting against that. And also it takes a really long time. And now is not the time for a long time because all these treaties are being voted on right now. So we have changed our game plan, and we want to have legislation in New Jersey that specifies that parents have the right to make decisions regarding the education, the upbringing, the care, from medical to sex education, whatever it should be. The parents have the right to decide. So we are supporting anything that supports parental rights. Again, if you read the language in Israel's bill, it's very, very strong, because not only does it give the parents the right to decide where the child should be educated, but it takes your tax-paying money and follows the children with it, which he didn't really touch on. But it literally resolves a lot of our financial problems as well. If you go back to this first agenda, so we already discussed, if we're going to go to agenda number 8, we already discussed the CRPD. So we're asked you guys to commit to...
Before you go any further,
Yes.
what are we saying to Lautenberg and Menendez? Are we sending them that email that you want us to?
Oh, no. See, that's a great question. That's a great question. These are two separate things, and this is the thing that's so confusing for a lot of people. Even some leaders, some Tea Party leaders, couldn't understand this. It's such a good question. There's two treaties: the Child Rights Treaty and the Disabilities Treaty. Those two treaties, one is getting voted on tomorrow. So the request is that you call this blue paper. You might want to say 1. And you want to say, please vote no on the Convention of Rights of Persons with Disabilities. They all know it is a CRPD. So when you email, you could either look at this for language or just literally, I called today.
So that's Lautenberg and Menendez.
Correct. That was a great question, though. And then this other one, the amendment, you could even refer to both things at the same time, but they're not going to listen to you when you do that anyway. So just do this at a future time. This is the constitutional amendment. And this is what we're trying to do to supersede or protect us from the treaty. So that's what people just don't really get. It's state law, federal law, U.S. Constitution, treaty. We're fighting against this treaty. So we want to put a constitutional amendment in place that would supersede the treaty, but we can't just do one or the other. We have to do both. So we're trying to create law that would protect us from the treaty, and we're trying to stop the treaty at the same time.
So are we just talking about the state of New Jersey?
No.
We're talking about everything?
Yes. Okay. And so in other words,
Okay.
when we're talking about the treaties, this covers
all the states.
Yes. But in order to support this effort, we are now working on every individual state. So I have been working for 2 years to get a constitutional amendment. If you look on the back table, the Office of Legislative Services, they have drafted a New Jersey constitutional amendment. The legal team from Parental Rights, the national organization, they have said that we have got to go with a bill and not with an amendment for many reasons. One, because we can't afford to fight the people that would fight the constitutional amendment in New Jersey. So we're talking about a lot of things. We're talking about treaties. We're talking about the broad umbrella of the United States constitutional amendment, and then we're talking about New Jersey legislation. The New Jersey legislation is very important because if we have that bill, it would cover school choice. The parent, it automatically covers school choice. There's a whole bunch of other bills going on right now. If you look back at the agenda, I'm sorry, let's go to 9, since I'm referring to the things we're supporting. A509, there's a vaccine bill right now, and I don't know if all of you guys have heard about it or not, but it's a vaccine mandate, and what it will do is it will literally mandate that everybody who goes to public school, and now the amendment has included preschoolers, that if the government decides, or the health commissioner decides that the child should get this vaccine, that the child has to get the vaccine. And the only way out is a 4-step thing to, 1, get a note from your doctor, 2, certify that you have a religious, like in your Bible or in your holy book, that it actually says that you don't take medication. Now, no one in their right mind is going to get their pastor to sign off on something like that. It's a liability. They're not going to do it. So what happened is Senator DeMio has a philosophical objection that would basically erase that. And what you would have to do is say, I philosophically disagree. In other words, a parental right. You have the right to say that that child should not get that vaccine, whether it's a religious conflict or not, because you shouldn't just be able to get out of vaccines because you're a Christian. That's ridiculous. You should be able to take your child away from getting a vaccine because you, as their parent, decide they shouldn't get it. Now, parental rights, our stand is not pro or con vaccine. What we are is pro parental rights. The parent should have the right to decide. And this one that Assemblyman DeMio has drafted, I really like it because what it does give the state the opportunity to say that the child has to leave the school if there's a sickness. Okay, so then you can't even complain that the non-vaccine child is going to get the other children sick. You can't even complain because the law itself states if there's an outbreak, then that child stays home. But the parent should have the right to decide. So in other words, there's a whole bunch of bills that support parental rights, and there's a whole bunch of bills that in New Jersey, and there's way more of them because they have the majority, that are stripping away your rights. You can read the language on the back table. The bigger umbrella is to have legislation, a bill, that literally says the same thing that this constitutional amendment would work on. We met with Senator, I'm going to say his name is Authority Doherty, Senator Doherty, I always pronounce it wrong. I guess it was last month, maybe 2 months ago. And I discussed this whole thing with him. He said he was going to give us 20 minutes. He gave us 2 hours from start to finish. He completely is on board, willing to be the sponsor, even willing to let a Democrat be the sponsor just for the sake of getting bipartisanship on this. It's just amazing. And we already have a list of many, many people that will sponsor it. So what my plan is, and this is my plan, and I really, honest to God, believe with everything inside of me that it can work. I want to get 1 district director from every New Jersey district. Now we're talking New Jersey. So how many are there? 40. Okay. There's 40 districts, and every district has a senator, and then every district also has what? 2 assembly people. Very good. So if I have 40 district directors, and then each of them get a team of 4, 5, or 6, preferably 6, but if it winds up being 5, okay. And then what their job is to, and I should have passed this around. This is the if you can start passing this around. This is the petition, and it's exactly, basically, the language that you just read is up top. If you could sign your name. If you do put your email address, please write it neatly because it will go into the parental rights database, okay? So if you become a district director, you have a team, and I will help you recruit. My goal is to speak in every district in our state, okay, to people like you. And the good thing is I've already done it for the Rick Santorum campaign, so I have relationships, okay? So I'm going to go, and I'm going to see if I can identify district directors or people that are even willing just to get involved. And then if every district director, we identify a team of 5. Say there's a team of 5 in every district, okay? So that equals what? 5 times 4 is what? 200, correct. So we have 200 leaders. Every single person that's a leader is going to have a petition like this. And they're going to get as many people, friends, family, church people, you name it, to sign this petition. With the ultimate goal of saying that everybody who signs this petition, within reason, because not everybody will, but the goal is that all 6 of their representatives, so we have 2 state senators, we have 1 state U.S. congressperson, we have 1 state senator, and we have 2 state assembly people, so we have 6 legislators. Whatever bill comes up regarding school choice, regarding constitutional freedom, regarding parental rights, you will be in charge of calling, emailing your 20 people, okay? And making sure, will you email them? Will you call them? Will you, and how easy is that? You probably all have 5 family members that would immediately jump on board. It's not hard. It's really not hard. And I literally go to Trenton often. When I go to Trenton, it's like you just get a stomach ache because you watch the people voting. And you go and you know the senators. Like now I know some are really, really honest. Some are just, rhinos, and some are just there for the money. But some really, really care. And if you watch and you look over, it's for for the few that are just, it's really, really freedom fighters. They're like distraught because the votes are, whatever it is, 24 yes, and the rest either no or not voting, or 38 and 40. In other words, there's not one bill that gets out of committee into the Senate that the Democrats aren't putting forth. This is different. This is different. So we know people, there's people on our state team, as well as people, you all could decide to be a state leader. But what we're doing is we're identifying 5 or 6 different people that we want to replace and that we think we can replace. and we are going to start working on those specific districts with everything we can. And so just like Nick said, we're starting now. We've been working on it. I started working on it before the election, as to identify the assembly people that we can kick out, the senators that we can kick out, and either get them on board or get Democrats and Republicans from their district to say, how in the world can you not support a law that says parents have the right to make a decision over their children?
Right.
And use that to rise people up in the primary and get these people out of office or the general. And I really believe that we can do this. You start asking your Democrat friends, Obama supporters, if they think the parents should have a right to make the decision, guess what? They agree with you. This is really not a red or blue bill. And this is, I think, something that we could have so much power and so much leverage on changing the face of our legislators. You sit down with people like Senator Daugherty, or Daugherty. You sit down with him, and at first he's like, I know how much time this is going to take. Is it worth the effort? Because ultimately you're not going to win. I'm like, don't you understand that this is so strong? And he was so excited by the end of our meeting that he actually saw that this legislation is so powerful that we really could change the face of the legislative body in New Jersey. We really can, but it won't happen without y'all. Okay, yes?
Can I just ask you a question, because I've spoken to a couple of legislators over the phone about things like this. People will argue that it doesn't protect children who are being abused by their parents. That's the argument. What do you say to them? What do you say? How is the state of New Jersey going to protect children that are being abused if this bill were to pass?
Well, being that I literally was a paralegal and I was in the courtroom, once a week, witnessing exactly what happened. First of all, New Jersey doesn't comply with laws anyway, because the laws really do protect the parents. And the courts don't, okay? But really what it comes down to is DIFUS will never not have control. This will just be language that we can use, that when we do appeal, or you do actually have an attorney, that this will trump their decision if their decision should be found not legitimate. In other words, I witnessed kids getting removed just because they're homeschool kids, and there's one family that Israel and I know quite well. The kids were, the one child, just to summarize really quick, the child was taken away because they thought the child had been salt poisoned. Once they found out the child was not salt poisoned, they kept the kids because the family was too radical, too Christian, and homeschooled their kids. If you read the caseworkers' write-ups, you would just have stomach ache. Israel and I were like in tears for weeks over this case. They literally just went to the appellate court in New Jersey. They got the parental rights stripped from 3 of their kids. They will never get them back, with the exception that they're going to fight it now in the New Jersey Supreme Court. And now they have gotten the 2 back. Now this is more than 2 years later. The point is that DIFUS really has power. It's tyranny. It's beyond belief. But that's another reason why we're working on this. So there is no way on earth that DIFUS would ever not remove a child if they thought the child was in danger, whether it's medically, whether it's education-wise, whether it's abuse. DIFUS, if they think it, literally, it doesn't matter if anybody called on you, and they thought, it doesn't even matter if they think it's true. They will come and remove your child, and then they have, then you basically have a very short window to fight. To get them immediately back within 72 hours, and then if you lose that, it's like a year. So the answer to your question is, this will never strip the state's authority to take a child away if they think the child is being neglected or abused in any capacity. However, it might give the parent a right to appeal if they aren't abusing their child, and it's very true. I'm an eyewitness to it. I can't tell you how many nights I was up. So here's what I want you to all to do. 1, sign the petition. Make sure your email is clean, because they're going to put it in the database. 2, if you're interested at all in either being part of this a district team, even if you're just one of those 20, let me know. I really would like you guys to step up as either district leaders or district directors. If you're a director, you have your own little meetings and your own little groups, but it's basically everything you do is from home. Email it, make your little list, and you will notify me of your people on your team. I will send out group emails. You have individual emails, but this is going to be a 2-year process. The short goal is to get district leaders in every district. with the longer goal to really, really have an impact in the primary, with the longer goal to have an impact in the general, and then change the face of our legislators, because it's going to be really hard to win if we don't. I think we still could, but it's really hard to win if we don't. And then really have an army of 4,000, if it's 200 leaders times 20, that's 4,000 people. And that's our primary, 2016, that's our primary army, our grassroots army right there. And I worked the Rick Santorum campaign. I was in every district. I saw people willing to give up their houses, everything, to elect a conservative in office. It's in every district. I cried at the amount of people, the amount of time, money, energy, reputation people were willing to give up in support of putting conservatives in office. So this is something that's not just one person. This is the change of New Jersey. It's the change of the administration. So at the bottom of all of this, that's my home phone number, my office, New Jersey Parental Rights office, New Jersey Parental Rights at Embark Mail. That's my email address. And then if you want to go on, it's endless. If you go on to www.parentalrights.org and start opening up things, I've been doing this for 2 years. There's not been one day that I haven't opened something else up and said, wow. I mean, any kind of law, any kind of, the treaties are there, it's just amazing. So you just keep opening it up, you will be amazed. It's amazing information. So please let me know if you'll be a leader. Minimum, please sign the petition. Maximum, be a district director, and then if you really feel so led, you can even be a state leader. But I really believe that we can do this. I really believe it, and I think this is the only type of legislation that can be used to change the face of our body. And it's not, if we don't change the way that we vote in New Jersey, it's gone. Yes?
How's the governor on this?
He says he's conservative. I think that's a hard question to answer. I don't know. I mean, whenever we've presented anything, he seems to be supportive, but that doesn't really mean anything. He certainly wouldn't veto it. And that would be one of the only concern if we actually pass it through the governor. But by the time we pass it, who's going to be in office? We don't know. But anyway, I thank you so very much, and clearly most of you really listened. I think most of you really understood. Do you have any questions for Israel regarding school choice?
So clear. No questions. It must be very clear.
Okay, and in the back, like I said, there's Israel's school choice bill is in the back, as well as the amended version that's not been approved yet. All of the bills we discussed are in the back, just for you to look at. And please email me, especially, and if you're willing, if you want to pray about it, and then let me know if you want to consider being a leader or at least part of a team. You can email me later. I'm developing a list right now. I do have a strategic plan up here, but this would only be for people that would be pretty sure that you want to be leaders. Okay? So thank you so much.
With children who do have special needs, the amount of money that they may need for their education tends to be much more, right, or is allotted much more. Do you get feedback from children or parents of children with special needs and saying that they're not going to have enough to educate their children if something like this goes through?
The bill that we have deals with basic education.
Okay.
There's all kinds of special needs. There's so many different levels of that. And it really needs to be dealt with separately.
Separately.
So this is just for basic education, where every child in the state wants to take a voucher.
Okay.
And that voucher, we're still working to approve the bill, and that voucher would be taking, that voucher system is not in our bill yet, but it's in Senator Doherty's bill. He has a bill that's called Fair School Funding. And we talked to him, and we're working on marrying the two bills. So his bill would take the state money, which is being sent all over the place haphazardly, there's almost nothing to the suburbs, almost everything to the Abbott districts. You took that money and divided it amongst all the children in the state, it would come out to $7,500. Something that kids, certainly in the poorer districts, could immediately get themselves a decent education as compared to what they're getting now. And then, as it saves money, because those districts are getting $28,000 plus. Camden is getting 28,000 plus. So if they're going to get 7,500 voucher, it's going to save an enormous amount of money. Then money of savings could, in subsequent years, build up that voucher, and then it could also become attractive to more children in suburbia, and until everyone is getting the same amount, the money just follows the child to the school of their choice. Just want to add one point, if anybody wants to get politically involved, additionally to this long-term program, but wants to get involved now in the primary, which is coming up in a few months. So to actually implement this, get the people to actually support candidates that want to support this bill. Please be in touch. If you have a business card, or you want to give me your name and phone number, or you want to, tell Victoria that we work together on this. Whatever the case is, it's not going to happen without action. People getting involved. So let me know which district you want to get involved in, where you are, and what you'd like to do to push this forward. Thank you.
Yes, and if I may add to that, if you're a district leader, one of the things you will be invited to do is attend meetings. If you're a district director, you will attend meetings. I will help you schedule, or you will schedule it yourself. But Israel attends the meetings with us. And we kind of do similar to what we did here. We tag team, and we divide the time with our Congress people or our senators, 2/3 parental rights, 3/4 parental rights, and add school choice in there. So sometimes they support one and not the other, but this is part of our program. So if you join our team, you will, almost immediately be supporting school choice as well, because it really goes hand in hand. It's the exact same thing, just a different part of it. Is it Vicki?
Have you thought about getting candidates running under the Democratic Party in the heavily Democrat districts? Like in Union County, it's like 8-to-1. They outnumber. So have you thought about that approach, just like conservative Democrats?
Yes. Yes. And that's kind of the plan. And we actually have some people that wanted to run in some of these districts. Some of the Team Centauran people are working on it. But the answer is yes, and that's Israel's plan as well. Like certain districts we're not going to win, so then we want to try to replace them with people that would support our movement. That was a good question.
Thank you, Victoria. Thank you, Israel. A couple of notes from listening to this, and I think I'm going to make some sense to everyone here. The information you just received in an hour's time was very hard for everyone to absorb, to understand completely, but I think you got a taste of it. We just scratched the surface. I need you to not leave here totally bewildered and go, there's so much to do, and it's so hard to comprehend, I can't possibly get involved in it. Okay, that's the worry that we have. Think about what you heard tonight. Read through the handouts. Go to the websites. I sent some of the websites out to you with the invitation to this meeting. Do a little bit of research on it. Then when you have questions, and there's going to be a lot of questions, maybe you don't want to go directly to Israel, you don't want to go directly to Victoria. Over the course of the next week, send your questions about this to me. I'll compile them. I will send them to Victoria and Israel. Let them try to, flesh it out. Explain the questions that you have. Give you some answers. Get into a little bit more depth. Because again, tonight, in an hour's time, there was so much information to cover. But contact me. I'll pass it on. I'll be the liaison here and get you answers. Because I know, just looking around this room, there are people in this room who want to get involved in this. I know there are. And I know that you're not ready to commit now because it's just overwhelming. Don't give up on it. Don't pass on it. Don't say someone else will do it. Think about it. As Victoria says, pray on it. Get some more information and talk to me. I mean, you all know me. Talk to me. What can we do? Can we get more? Can we sit one-on-one with Victoria or Israel? Can we get them back? Can we go to another meeting they're having? How can we find out more? How can we find out how each of us, or whoever wants to, can really do something? This is our children. And as I said earlier, with the fact that we have to change the culture, if we don't save the children, what are we doing it for? Most of us here forgive me, you younger people, but a lot of us here are at an age where whatever happens now is not going to affect us. I mean, it will get aggravated, but it's not going to impact us as much as it's going to impact our children and absolutely our grandchildren. So I know you're here and I know you want to do it, but you're not ready. Talk to me. We'll get some of you involved. And Victoria will certainly hold your hand and get you through this. Israel is pushing this every day. They need help. They need help. And this is what we could do. God willing, if the video survives, I will get it onto YouTube, even if I have to put it in a few different segments, because it's unfortunate that we don't have as many people as we normally. And we have a good crowd tonight, but we usually have many more. And I think we're getting close to the holidays. We had the party yesterday. So if I can get it onto YouTube, I will get it onto our website. Share it with people. We'll certainly share it with everyone. I'll let you know when I have it on if you want to take it and link it and send it to people. Like I said, this is in the hands of God once I get rid of this camera. No way to know whether it's going to work. One other thing I forgot to mention, or I think I forgot, so before we leave, we're going to have one more meeting. I didn't mention that earlier, I don't think. There are flyers out there. We're going to have Debbie DeLuca from Americans for Liberty, who handled the Americans for Prosperity phone center up in Mountain Lakes. She has a presentation on the real war on women. I heard it up in Montville. And she's agreed to come here and give it for our group. So we're going to do that on December 12th, which is a Wednesday. We're also moving off Monday for this one meeting because I've gotten a number of people who would like to attend but can't make Mondays. So hopefully it will work for most of us here. After Debbie gives that presentation, I want to have a town hall type of meeting here because very honestly, I'm tired of talking. And this meeting is really for all of you and for all the other people who attend. And before we close out this year, I want to hear briefly from as many of you as I can, what are your thoughts moving forward? Because I have thoughts for going into 2013, but if my thoughts don't appeal to you, I'll be the only one here. So think about, obviously, how you feel about the election. Where do we go from here? What are the issues that are important to you? Do we, I think we need to address some of the cultural issues in addition to the political. Do you agree, or do you say, no, let's just work on get out the vote? Do you think we need to focus more on some of the religious items, which we did this year? I need to know what you want to do and what's important to each of you in order to put together a program that's of value for you, that when you come here and give up an evening, there's something in it for you. All right, so we will do that on the 12th. There's flyers on the chairs. Please take them all with you. I will again send out invitations about that meeting, but one more time before the year ends. And why did we have 3 meetings after the election? Because I didn't want you all going into a funk, seriously, getting down, not getting involved, and the holidays would come, and then before you know it, we're 2 months without being together. And then how do you get back on the horse? So I pushed, and I'm glad you're responding. Please come with me for one more time, and then we'll go to the holidays, and then we'll prepare for the next year. Israel, can I ask you to close with a prayer for us?
I pray to Almighty God to give us the strength, stamina, enthusiasm, the motivation to continue to do what we need to do to make this a better country, to fulfill the original intent of this country so that we can elevate this entire society to a much higher level than it is today, and to bring our children back into the fold that is being lost from day to day, and give us the strength that we need to continue and make it happen. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ms. Victor. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
You're dismissed, or you can stay and talk, whatever you want. We still have another 20 minutes before we have to be out of here. There's some water in the back. Thank you for coming. You can grab Victoria.
Thank you so much.
Just do it and say what you're supposed to say. I mean, really, we have to stop playing stuff. Yes, that's it. No, but you told her well. She's not afraid to speak. I don't see
Well, that's
Did I give you one?
That's the problem. Show them the you have to give them self-respect. That's you have to out, you can't just go out and not follow us, get out of the box. Not demographics, not society. Reality is non-negotiable. If that's what it is, we better face that and do something about that. Everything else, you know. Yes, it is. Especially in rush hour traffic. Yeah. When I came up here, so you won't be coming in on a regular basis.
Well, I always knew it was too far.
Yeah.
But there are reasons to come.
Definitely, because I think your people, from what I gathered from when I was there, they're going to buy into this too. I mean, everybody should. Did you ever get that DVD? Never got the DVD?
Oh, I was there 2 weeks ago. I saw it. And I said, what about the DVD? Oh, don't ask. I'm so far behind. I said, well, the election's over, so there's no rushing.
Well, let me turn off the camera. I don't need you arguing with me.
You'll have to edit it.
Yeah.